Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Wings Podcast. This is your host, Milind Agnihotri. On today's show, we will meet Rucha Bapat, a dentist turned research scientist. After completing her bachelor's in dental surgery in India, Rucha did her master's and PhD at the Center for Craniofacial Molecular Biology at University of Southern California, Los Angeles, where she currently works as a full-time postdoctoral scholar. In addition to being a bibliophile, Rucha enjoys cooking and baking during her free time, and while driving to work each day, she is equally attentive to the music and podcasts playing on her car stereo, as well as to the busy traffic on the I-10 freeway. Welcome, Rucha, to this episode of Wings Podcast.
Hi, so nice to be here.
So have I got that right? The last piece, that your day starts and ends on the busy freeway of Los Angeles?
Yes, pretty much. And I go at peak traffic time. So I have a lot of time to listen to music and podcasts stuck in the car in the traffic.
And this is what, whatever, 10 mile, 8-10 mile journey to your
Less than that, 8-ish miles, yeah. But takes me good 20-25 minutes in peak traffic.
And evening also the same time?
It's the same thing, yeah.
So this research lab where you are working full-time as a postdoctoral scholar, and this is a tongue twister for me, the name of the research lab, Center for Craniofacial Molecular Biology. So Rucha, tell us, what is this research center do and what do you do there?
So if you look at the name, it's craniofacial, which is head, cranio, and face, facial, and molecular biology. So basically we study the development of everything to do with the head and the face. That can be facial musculature, teeth, skull, bones of the face, sutures of the skull. So the whole center has maybe 5 or 6 different labs. And each professor has a few PhD students and postdocs, and each professor is focused on a different topic of this broader field of craniofacial biology. And we fall under the dental school. So my lab particularly, where I did my master's and PhD, and a different lab where I'm doing my postdoc now, both the labs have been focused on studying teeth and the development of tooth enamel specifically, which is the outermost part of our teeth. So these two labs primarily focus on this. And then there are other labs, as I said, which focus on different parts of the head and face.
So, this is the place you seem to have spent much of your life in the US, right? Almost 7.5 years.
Yep.
So how has been life there, in this lab, and, your masters, and what do you do when you do research?
It's really interesting because although we are part of the dental school, we are not in the same building. We are frankly not even on the same campus. We are on a completely different campus of the university. So we don't really see patients. We don't see that hustle of patients coming and going constantly and all that stuff. That's a completely different campus altogether. However, we used to get teeth from the dental school for our research during my master's and PhD, because we used to work on human teeth and we needed samples. So we had a contact person in the dental school who used to collect teeth in a jar, like a literal jam jar for us. And then once in 3 weeks, once in 4 weeks, we would go there and we would pick up a jar of jam full of human teeth. And for somebody who is not in the field, this sounds extremely creepy and probably disgusting. But we used to get excited for the teeth because that meant new samples. And it was like a boost for our next set of experiments. So that was something really fun. And even now in the lab, I will randomly find like a beaker of teeth somewhere just lying in the corner that somebody hasn't used. So that's fun.
No, this sounds really creepy, Rucha. I mean, as you're saying, I'm actually imagining you. I mean, your lab actually is like a cave, which is surrounded by teeth of all kinds, and then you are sitting in between. It's kind of sounds so scary.
When you say all kinds, you are actually kind of right, because we also have teeth from pigs.
What?
Or cows, because sometimes we need a bigger sample, and human teeth are tiny as compared to cow teeth or big teeth.
Correct.
So sometimes we have to get in from a medical supplier or a special supplier that deals with animal tissue, teeth from pigs and cows when they are bigger and they serve a different purpose. So yeah, we do have a bunch of different kinds of teeth.
So your research, you talk about studying the formation of tooth enamel. So for a layman like me, can you walk me through what does that mean?
Of course. So enamel is the outermost layer of our teeth. It's the part that we see visually in the mirror when you look at your mouth, and the part that we brush and take care of,
Mm-hmm.
and that decays sometimes. So in my master's, I was actually working on a special compound, which was a protein based compound,
Mm-hmm.
which could regrow enamel when it was lost to something like demineralization or something like attrition or abrasion.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big project that was in the lab, and my master's project was a very small bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
But for PhD, I pivoted a little bit and I wanted to do more basic science. So instead of doing this more translational type of a research, I went into even more basic developmental research of how enamel forms and how when our teeth are forming, even before they come out into our mouth, like in our gums, what what proteins are involved, how they interact with each other, and how they actually give rise to this really tough tissue, which we call enamel. And when I say tough, it is the hardest tissue in our body. It's harder than bone. And it's really unique because the cells that form enamel are just found in your body when your teeth are forming. And
Okay.
once all your teeth are out, the cells are gone. They're not there anymore. So if your wisdom teeth are out, they've been already taken out by the dentist, or they're already out and they're in your mouth, you don't have enamel forming cells anymore in your body.
Oh.
So that's a unique cell type. So it's really, that makes it really difficult to study also. Like if you're studying skin cells, you can just grab a sample.
Yes.
But when the cells are lost, you cannot get a sample. So that makes a difficult tissue to study altogether.
So, research, pardon my saying this, is might sound a bit naive and maybe even a bit funny. So please pardon me for that. But, if I were to draw an analogy with a, let's say, game of cricket. Now you have a 5 day test match format where, the game goes on for about 5 days, or you have a very short format where the game gets over in about 20 overs each team plays. Very different style of playing that game. Now I don't know, how does that manifest in the research. That is your research, the short format research where you do end up, magical discoveries every day or every week, or is it a long format game of cricket where it's laborious day in day out process. I don't know. So uh, you know sorry if I'm sounding a bit stupid here.
No, I think this is a really good analogy. And I would say it's Rahul Dravid all the way. You
Oh,
cannot do a T20. You have to be slow and steady,
okay.
and you have to be patient, and you have to stick it, like just be there, and you have to give it your everything every day and not expect quick results. And you really have to be like literally Rahul Dravid all the way.
Wonderful.
So I think when you like start off as a master student or something, you don't get your own project. It's a
Mm,
small fraction of a big project, as I mentioned before.
mm,
So that's much shorter. It gets done in maybe 2 semesters or 3 semesters at the most.
mm,
So that's very different from a PhD research or a postdoctoral research, where for a PhD you have 5 to 6 years and you have one big project, all of which you do on your own. Of course, you have help, but it's start to finish. And that's something that you really have to plan properly and think about. um, I think knowing where to stop is very important also in that case,
mm-hmm.
because I had an experiment during my PhD which I was trying to figure out for 6 months. I
Okay.
tried different permutation combinations, whatever different things, but it just didn't work for me. And we actually tried even different instruments, different microscopes, but it just didn't work for me. And at that time my boss sat me down and she was like, you know what, this is all the data that you have so far for this experiment and it's just not working, and I think it's time to give up on this one. Let's
Mm-hmm.
pivot, let's look at something different, or let's think about it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there is any point in wasting any more time on this. It's just not working. So I think that taught me that, patience and perseverance is good and it's necessary, but you also need to know when to stop. and when to change your approach, when to think out of the box. And those are like skills that I acquired during that 6 months that technically I lost, but I don't think I did.
So I guess what I'm hearing is from you is I'm kind of caught up in three words from what you said that are coming to my mind is one is conviction, second is commitment, and third is being
Mm-hmm.
brutally honest to oneself.
Yeah,
Does that
totally.
would that be a fair way of saying it?
Yeah, it would be very fair because at the end of the day, when you make a publication, you publish the best parts of your PhD, right? Because those are the results and those are the discoveries that you make. You
Hmm.
don't publish the 80% failures that you have, you publish the 20% successes. But
Mhm.
the 80% failures are really necessary to lead you to those 20% successes,
Yeah.
because nobody gets up in the morning, thinks of an experiment, does it, and gets data. And if
Correct.
that happens, any good scientist will doubt the results 100%. And until they repeat it 3 times, they will not believe that they got it in the first shot, because we are just not wired like that. We have to repeat and we have to confirm.
So it's like the itsy bitsy spider nursery rhyme. Went up the spout and
Mhm.
out came the sun and brought that
Yep.
beautiful
Yep.
thing, and then the spider goes up again.
Yep. And I think that's why you really need to like it. Like I've heard some people say that, oh, I'll do a PhD as a backup while I wait for my dental school admission. I
Mm,
really say no to these people, because
mm.
PhD is not a backup option. Like it's not something that you do on the side while you wait for something. It really needs full commitment, and it really needs your heart in it. Otherwise you're not going to be happy, your boss is not going to be happy, and like what's the point?
So is that what you always wanted to do? Because you did your bachelor's in dental surgery in India.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
as one would know, is once you are a dentist, you are set for life, man. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially with this whole cosmetic thing that has caught up now, where
Yeah.
having a beautiful smile is so important for everybody, whether it is a young boy or a girl or anybody. And then this is a very, very lucrative profession, and
Yeah.
which obviously needs a good clinical practice. But then you ended up choosing research. I mean, what happened at that phase? If you can walk us through your transition from your dentistry in India to your research in the US.
Yeah. So I don't think I had this idea at all until the final year of my dental school, I would say. And I
Mhm.
would give like the credit to my oral pathology department from my college in India. Um,
And what was that
those
college? Can you
professors,
which college was that, Rucha?
Dr. D.Y. Patil Dental College in Pimpri,
In Pune.
in Pune, yes.
Okay, okay,
The oral pathology department were the professors who had their bachelor's in dental surgery, master's in dental surgery, and a PhD.
okay.
So they were all interested in research, and a couple of professors particularly, they highlighted the importance of basic science research a lot in our final year. And
Mm,
a lot of people just dismissed it, but that bug kind of stuck in my head. And I remember talking to my one of my college friends during my internship, saying that, oh, you remember like a year ago or whatever, like, our professor had mentioned research, and I'm actually seriously thinking about it.
mm,
And I had started like looking up courses mainly in the UK. And my course in the US where I did it, it was called craniofacial biology. That's what my department is called.
okay.
But the course is usually called something like oral biology or something like that in different colleges
Hmm.
across the world.
Hmm.
So that's what I was looking into. And I really didn't know if I wanted to quit dentistry and go full time into research, or just do this alongside clinical dentistry. And that's why I worked in a clinic for a year,
Hmm.
because my parents were like, you know what, give it a go. And if you really think that that's not for you, go for it, go for your research dream.
Okay.
So I worked for in a clinic for a year, and I decided, no, this is like, I want to study more, I want to go into more basic science than this.
Sorry
And
to
that's
interrupt you
why
here,
I
Rucha, but does research run in your blood? I mean, is it in the family? Are your parents into research, scientific research?
No, they are not. They are not. I have one uncle who is a PhD in my entire family on both sides.
Oh,
Nobody else in my family is a doctor, scientist, researcher, nobody. So
so you're the
yeah, it's
first
not a
doctor in
family.
the family, you're a first scientist in the family, and a researcher.
I mean, my uncle is a PhD, so he's a
Yes,
scientist, but
of course.
first doctor in the family as a dentist, yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, how did you negotiate this whole transition? Because it's not just shift from clinical practice to research. That's one, but then living a life in India and then going to the US, and that too, how did USC at Los Angeles happen to you?
I think I was really lucky to come to LA because LA is such a diverse city. I really never felt out of place. I
Mm-hmm.
never felt like I was an outsider here because in LA, frankly, everybody is an outsider. So it
Can you
was,
say
I really
Can
felt
you
at
say
home.
more on that? Can you say more on that?
Yeah, because LA is such a diverse city. We have Asian neighborhoods, Armenian neighborhoods. What else? We have a little Indian neighborhood. We have um, basically, like, if you want to eat something and you can't figure out, you pick a country and you will find food from that country. It's literally that diverse. So I didn't feel like I was an outsider at all. And I think I would say the mother tongue of LA is Spanish, not English. So that was another thing where there
Okay.
are so many people here who are like literally not English speaking. So I was not English speaking person and I didn't feel like an outsider. So it was really good. Another good thing was the weather. The weather is very much like India. It's hot. It doesn't snow. It doesn't get too cold ever. So
Correct.
that was another thing that didn't make me feel like alienated. And then lastly, but obviously like a most important part was I ended up with the best roommates ever I could
Mm-hmm.
find. They
Mm-hmm.
were all really great girls and we gelled really well, and I found like friends for life in those roommates.
Any
So
fun
I think
moments you recall with
all
your friends? Any fun moments? I mean, whilst you're doing this
Oh,
research,
lots of fun moments. Lots of fun moments. So, like one of the weird fun moments, the first time we stepped out in LA, in downtown, there is a big like a center called Staples Center, which is
yes.
like a touristy area mall, and there is a big basketball stadium, etc. And we went there just to hang out, and then this random old lady stops us, and
Okay.
then holds our hand, and then starts telling our future,
Ah.
and we are freaking out, we are
Uh-huh.
afraid, we are brand new in the country, we
How
don't know
old was
what's going
she?
on, and
How
we
old
did
was that lady?
maybe in her 50s, like not
Okay.
super old or anything, but
Okay.
older, like
Okay.
50s or 60s.
Okay.
And a small little lady, like nothing intimidating, but the way she was just like staring at us and just telling, just like predicting things, and we freaked out and we were like, we are in America, this type of things are not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And we literally didn't know what happened. And then at the end of the whole like future telling session or whatever, she gave
Uh-huh.
us a packet of Oreos,
Oreos.
and we were Oreos, the biscuits, the
Okay.
cream biscuits,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
and we were terrified to take it from her. We thought it was cursed or something, and we didn't know what to do with it, but we also didn't want to insult her by not taking it because we
Correct.
were afraid of like her cursing us more,
Correct.
and we were just like completely scared. And then we took the Oreos and I think we gave it away to somebody else because we didn't want to eat it. But
Uh,
yeah, so many weird and fun things like this.
So LA is for us, in India, LA is Hollywood is what we equate to. So that seems to be much more to LA than this. Some of the fun places that you have been around in LA. Why don't you share with that? Because I remember the last time I and Asha visited you. You took us to the LA Zoo. We went into the late night thing, and that was such an amazing
Yeah, we
place.
went to the zoo lights. Yeah, it was very
Zoo lights,
beautiful.
LA Zoo lights. But there are some other beautiful places too around it. So what are your favorite hangout places of Rucha in LA?
So I am a huge foodie, as cliche as it is to say this, but I love food.
Mm-hmm.
And my most favorite part in LA, if I had to like pick one place where I would like go last if I'm leaving LA, would be the Grand Central Market. I think I took you guys there last time when you came.
Correct, correct, correct. What a
It's a
crowded
really old
place.
market.
It was like a fish market. So many people.
It's a very crowded place. It's basically like a giant hall, like just like think of a wedding hall, and then
Mm.
there are different restaurants from all different countries and like cultures in one hall. And then there are just like plastic chairs and tables, so you can grab food from basically a Chinese place, a Filipino place, a Mexican place, and say some American food like burgers, and get it all on one table and eat it all together. And it's the most amazing place in LA, which is not in Hollywood, it's in downtown LA. And when people think of LA, they, as you said, they by default think of Hollywood, but LA is huge. Like literally, it's probably like so widespread. Hollywood and downtown LA are like maybe 10, 12 miles away from each other. So they're not even in the same area. and they are completely different parts of the city.
But
So
tell me, Rucha, you just talked about this amazing variety of food. You talked about Chinese, you talked about Filipino, you talked about is there some Korean food also? Korean barbecues and
oh,
all
I
that?
love Korean food. Yes, there is. Oh, there is Koreatown also, which is very close to downtown, I think.
So if you get food of all places in the world, even the Armenian food or the Greek food or whatever, which is probably what LA is all about, what happened to
Mhm.
the good old puri bhaji that you have grown up with, Rucha? Have you given up on
I
puri
cook.
bhaji?
No, I haven't. I cook, and then I am so lucky because of this diversity. I don't think twice about taking pori bhaji in my lunch. So I
Or
take
you
pori
make
bhaji
puri
pretty
bhaji
much
at
like
home?
3-4 times.
You make your own
I
puri
don't
bhaji?
make pori.
Of
No,
course.
I don't make pori. I buy pori and I just like roast it. I buy uncooked fulkas.
Correct.
But I make bhaji and I take 3 times a week at least. I take pori bhaji for lunch because I can kind of can't live without it. If I don't eat it for a while, I feel like something is missing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I eat with my hands at work,
Oh,
which is
okay.
totally fine. Nobody like blinks an eye
Correct.
because people have this image that you have to use like a spoon and fork for everything, and you have to be like very Western when you come here. You don't. If you are proud of what you are and if you're proud of your heritage, people will be curious. They might ask you, "How do you eat this? Why do you eat it like this?" And you answer, and everybody's happy. That's it.
So, Rucha, you here you are. So you must be you left to the US when you were 20, 21 something, right?
24,
Tw-
25.
so 24, 25 years of your life you were very much an Indian girl in India, and now in
Mm-hmm.
a place called LA doing research as a postdoctoral scholar. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
how has these uh, living the American life or American dream yet being in Indian, how is that playing out for you? Do you get pulled and pushed in these two directions, because we have
I
this
would
good
say
old
no.
parampara tradition, Indian culture, all that stuff, and then here you are, probably holding a bottle of beer on Santa Monica beach. I don't know how does
No, you're
this.
not allowed to drink on the beach.
Sorry for
But
that.
anyway, no, the thing is, I never felt this need to be somebody that I was not. First of
Okay,
all, I don't come from a super religious family or anything like that.
correct,
So
correct.
it wasn't like a giant cultural shock or anything like that to me.
Mm.
Also, I used to watch a lot of TV. So I was exposed to a lot of Western culture anyway. It wasn't like it was a brand new thing to me. But at the same time, I think because of my school and because of my upbringing, I never thought that I had to be someone else to gel in a new culture. And especially, again, I will highlight the diversity of where I landed. Maybe if I would have landed in a smaller town, this might not have been the case. I might not have been the one to stick out like a sore thumb. But because I landed up in a huge diversity like LA, I never felt the need to be somebody I was not, or to take up somebody's culture that wasn't mine. Of course, I took bits and pieces that I liked, and I gave away bits and pieces of my culture that I didn't like. But I still kept my food, I kept my festivals, I kept my clothes, I kept my music. It's just I was very lucky to have friends who also thought like me. They were not somebody who would just take on a different persona because they were in a different country. We all cooked together. We made like Manchurian and all that kind of food, and just like chat so many nights. Chat nights were the best. So
But cultural integration, Rucha, is also a two-way street, isn't it? I mean, it's the choices I make that I will not be who I am not. So when I'm in a process of cultural integration, there are choices
mhm,
that I probably have in at my disposal which I can make. But the place
mhm.
or the environment in which you are in also will force certain choices. So has LA forced you to become somebody that you are not? Or is it a place which lets you who you are? I don't know, I'm just curious about that.
I would say the latter. I would say the latter 100%. It just lets you be who you are. Like, even when my parents want to visit, my mom will ask me, what should I wear outside?
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell her, wear whatever you want. If you want to wear a sari, wear a sari. We can walk around LA with you in a full Indian sari, makeup, jewelry, everything. Nobody will care. Like, they might say how pretty you look, but they will not, like, you will not get any negative reaction. And it's just how the city is. But I think because of that also, that's one thing. But the second thing is, I always have that sense that Indianness is just getting diluted anyway. Like I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday that my parents are probably 50% of culturally, religiously Indian than their parents probably. And I'm like 50% of my parents. So it's already getting diluted, and Indian culture is so unique. Like, what is my generation going to teach our kids? Like, we already know so little. So whatever we know, I want to cherish and I want to protect because it's already so diluted and
I
lost.
know, Rucha.
I don't want to lose more of
You
it.
do you do celebrate Ganpati festival. You put Ganpati at home, right? Even in your small LA house.
Yes.
I know you do this.
Yes.
So this is so nice. Rucha, one of the other things I know of you is you love playing games. I know that.
I do.
Board games or all kinds of games. I know you and your
Yeah.
parents, you play online Scrabble also, right?
Yeah, we've been playing Scrabble since the day I left India, and we still have an app on which three of us play Scrabble with each other. So
So why
that's
don't we
fun.
play a game right now? Are you up for it?
Sure.
Okay, this is a word game. So you know that game, yeah? I mean, I'll say a word and you quickly say what does it relate. How do you relate to that word quickly? Whatever
Oh, word
one
association.
word
Okay, okay, okay.
association. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
ready? Can we go with that?
Okay.
Okay, done. LA.
Fun.
Aji, your grandmother.
Love.
Sorry.
Love.
Nyan Prabodhini, your school.
Oh, weird and amazing.
Friends.
Life.
Food.
Love again.
Music.
Need.
Books.
Escape.
Escape. India.
Home.
Computer gaming.
Time pass.
Time pass. And your PhD. That's the last word.
Oh, amazing experience. Like I wouldn't have it any other way in any other lab at any other place. Like it was the best decision of my life.
Beautiful.
Not a word, but a phrase.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rucha, when we started this conversation, I introduced you saying that every day in the morning you would drive on the very, very busy Interstate 10 highway to your work, which takes you anything between 30-40 minutes. And as you're driving, you're listening to the car stereo with music and podcasts. So if I were to ask you, what does your music playlist look like today?
It's full of a lot of random stuff. I think my Spotify is the most confused algorithm on the planet. I like a lot of trance and EDM. Armin van Buuren is probably one of my top listened to artists because I wrote my PhD thesis while listening to him.
Okay.
I also like Natya Sangeet, Marathi Natya Sangeet,
Oh,
Geet Ramayan, um, Indian Hindustani classical because I learned Hindustani classical for like 4 or 5 years. It's one of the regrets of my life that I gave it up. I should have continued. But 12th standard happened and priorities, so I gave up learning. But yeah, and then I do listen to like the normal pop, latest playlist, top 50, all that stuff as well.
so let's have a fusion right now, Rucha, from you.
Okay.
Pick one,
I don't know.
whatever, a Western pop classic or whatever you want, and maybe one Indian. I don't know. Let's. I haven't heard you singing for a long time.
Okay, so I said Geet Raman right now, so I can just sing like one line of the first song of that.
Go ahead.
Swaye Shri Ram Prabhu Aikati Kushalav Ramayana Gati Kushalav Ramayana Gati.
Wow.
And then one line of something not Marathi. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out, and I lay your shit bare.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm sure you must be sitting in your lab doing those nerdy experiments and singing those songs. Does this happen? Do your colleagues listen to this, see you like this?
They do, kinda, especially if I'm listening to like some trance or EDM or something, they do. But I do listen to a lot of music while I'm like writing, so that happens a lot at home. So both yes and no.
Wonderful, Rucha, wonderful. So, Rucha, as we are coming close to this conversation, if I were to ask you that here you are, uh, young 30s, doing a dentist, and
Mhm,
a research scholar with a PhD in hand, living in this amazing city called LA, and having this
mhm.
beautiful life in front of you. If you were to look outside of your window and look into the sky and say, "This is the life I see for myself going forward," what picture
Mhm.
does emerge for you?
Hmm. That's a tough question because I really don't know at the moment, but I can say that I definitely want to continue in the research field
Mm-hmm.
because this is really what gives me so much joy, and I feel like I make a difference every day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I don't know about where I will be, if I will continue to be in LA, if I'll move out, I don't know. But so far, I love what I have, and touch wood, everything is going well. I hope that it stays on track.
Wonderful, Rucha. Wonderful. I know, Harry Potter is one of your favorite books, I know. And I
Yes.
wouldn't be surprised if somebody tells you that throw away every book from your bookshelf, but you're allowed to keep only one. Probably Harry Potter would show up there. I would like to believe that. So I'm reminded
Probably.
about this beautiful, beautiful spell that young Rucha used to say so beautifully. But this is my wish for you, Rucha, as you are living this wonderful, amazing life of being with a very proud Indian, and yet living a very global kind of a life. Is may you swing your sorry, let me say that again. May you swing your wand high up in the air and say loudly, Vingardum Leviosa.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Oh, you are not Hermione, I know that. Yeah, and may your wings take you wherever you wish to go. So thank you so much, Rucha,
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on
much.
this
That was
podcast.
so sweet. That was so
And
sweet.
so, what would you say? How has this short, quick, breezy 30-minute conversation been for you? What are your thoughts, feelings at this point as we are closing this conversation?
It was a really nice look back because you don't really get time to just pause and look back, and time has really flown. I can't even believe I've been here already for 6-7 years.
Mm.
So it's a really nice look back, and I'm really pleased and happy and honored that you asked me to be on your podcast. I listened to the previous podcast, and I feel like they were all like way above my level. So thank you so much for inviting me. It's really been a pleasure.
No, no, there's nobody above or below, Rucha. Each one of you are so unique and so beautiful. I mean, Wings podcast is all about, having amazing young Indians like you on the show, sharing your hopes, dreams, aspirations, fears, anxieties. And each story is very unique, one of my, teachers, I will say, I'm just reminded of him. He has this beautiful one-line Hindi poem. He says, and which somehow I relate a lot to the various stories that are emerging on the Wings podcast. And the line goes that हर जीवन की है एक नई कहानी, सदियां बीती फिर भी होती नहीं पुरानी.
Mhm.
So each of you have your own story, which have been repeated timelessly over eons, but yet each story is so unique and so beautiful. So thank you once again for coming on the
Thank you
show,
so much for
and
having me.
hope to meet you. I don't know how this COVID situation is playing out. Maybe we get to travel to the US, or you get to come to India, and
Hopefully,
let's pray and hope we get to meet soon and have a nice glass of wine together.
hopefully, see you soon.
Okay, bye
Thank you
bye.
so much once again.
Take care. God
Bye
bless you.
bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for your time today, my dear listeners. This is your host, Milind Agnihotri, signing off. Goodbye, take care, and stay safe. This podcast is for general information purposes only and should not be considered as a piece of any professional advice. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of its guest. Creators of this podcast expressly disclaim any and all liability or responsibility for any direct or indirect, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of this podcast. For feedback and suggestions, please write to wingsindia75@gmail.com. Thank you.